Look, this is Donald Trump, classic Donald Trump, right? And, a large part of this we now know was really negotiated by the Biden administration before, and these have been long and ongoing talks about how to improve the border, particularly as it relates to fentanyl coming across the border from both the North and the South. But the bottom line is wherever it comes into the United States, it originates in China. We know that 97% of the fentanyl that makes its way to the United States comes from China. And so I think that the Chinese tariffs going into effect are the most important. And that's not only because of the fentanyl, because let's be clear, that's just the methodology by which Donald Trump is using authority to be able to implement these tariffs. There has to be a threat to the American public for him to do this through executive action. And so he's using the scourge of drugs to be able to do that. But the Chinese battle is actually bigger than that. And don't forget now, one of the biggest China hawks in the United States Congress, Marco Rubio, is Secretary of State. So I think that the tough rhetoric on China will continue. But that's also who we have the biggest trade deficit with. If Trump's real motivation here, which he says it is trade deficits, we have a $270 billion trade deficit with China. That's bigger than our total trade with Mexico and Canada.
So then why all the drama, the frenzy of it all and sort of the 11th hour deal? Is that just kind of classic Trump?
Well, I think it's classic Trump 2.0, Todd. This is the new Trump. This is the Trump who I think looks back on his first term in office and has a lot of regrets about what he was able to accomplish and about lasting changes that he was able to implement, particularly his own agenda. And I think this is a Trump now who is adamant that he's just going to come in and do these things as a whirlwind, because we all know that in the United States, you're judged by your first 100 days because that's when your administration is the strongest. That's when you've got the most political capital and you can get the most done. Everything after that, it starts to peter out. And so if you look at it, we'll be talking about midterm elections in about 4 months. And so Trump's just trying to get ahead of this, and he's a little disorganized. And we see that not only in the tariff conversations, but in everything Doge is doing and his relationship with Elon Musk. He's just trying to throw everything at the wall in the first 100 days.
Hey, the other thing I'm curious about is, going after Canada, Mexico, the Europeans, other countries, this idea of the return of American hard power, to use that term, Cory, versus soft power. So we're not talking about backroom conversations and, quiet diplomacy anymore. We're talking about these real threats. Look, we're going to take down your economy if you don't bow down to us. What do you make of that sort of strategy that we seem to be seeing from this White House?
Well, it's definitely bullish, and I think it's probably problematic in the long haul, because while Trump is looking at the short-term effects, which are, A, he wants quick wins, but B, he wants enemies to fear him. And so if he's tough on friends, then you've got to ask the question, what would he do to an enemy? But the problem is, I believe you embolden your enemies over the long term when you start to show fractions in these alliances that have kept the world safe and strong for the last 80 years. And so NATO, whether it's our relationships with Europe and our traditional allies there, or whether it's the Western Hemisphere, and just how safe the Western Hemisphere has been really since World War II, with the exception of a few attacks such as September 11th and other things. But the Western Hemisphere has remained largely isolated from global conflict, and that is because of our strong trading partnerships, that's because of our foreign aid, and that's because of America's willingness to be involved as a neighborhood partner in this hemisphere.
I'm going to send you some Canadian maple syrup.
Send it while you can, before it gets taxed.
Absolutely. Cory Crowley, Republican strategist. He is in Dallas, Texas today. We'll be talking again, Cory, no doubt in the next couple of weeks. Thanks for this.
Thanks, Todd.